Many of our family funerals have been out of this facility, and it feels like home to us. So thank you very much to Marshals. No doubt you've read a very well crafted, written, articulated obituary on Facebook or on the Marshals website, and that was done by his daughter April, who is here today, and his daughter Allison. I'm going to call you Kirby, but she goes by Allison as well. I'm not going to read that obituary because you can imagine how long. We have an hour, and you can imagine how long that would take. You can read that for yourself. I want to personally thank Hugh's friends in his apartment building. I see his superintendents are here today. The building superintendents, where Hugh lived for 27 years, many years. I'm not really good with Facebook, but the outpouring of condolences has been a very large comfort for myself. I want to publicly thank Gary Schneider. For being there. With Hugh in the end. I was doing so well. You don't cry, I won't cry. How's that? Our parents, Clayton and Elizabeth, have passed on, so Hugh is up there with them now getting what for. Hugh has 2 sisters and 3 brothers, and I've been asked to direct traffic. So coming up here to speak about my brother, historically, directing traffic is something I'm very familiar with and able to do. I want to go back to Gary Schneider. Thank you, Gary. Thank you for being a buddy, being there. Hugh's first sibling is our sister Ann, and she drew the short straw and will be speaking later after my brother's 2 children. April Minor is Hugh's first daughter, and Allison Kirby, as I call her, is his second daughter. And I've known these beautiful girls all their lives. And you are in for a treat to hear from both of them. I'd like to call April up next here to speak this afternoon and share her thoughts with friends and family. However, I'm also prepared to do it for you. You've seen how well I've done it, so you can only improve on that. Okay, you're up. This is where you come up. Please don't have that baby on the way.
Oh.
I'll get that.
I don't even know if I want to read this now, to be honest. Well, I'll admit right now I'm horrible at presentations. I sucked in high school, sucked in college. Public speaking is not my thing. That is one of the problems that I had. So I don't know, maybe we'll lean. It'll probably be better for my back that way anyway. No, sitting's not gonna work either. So as Uncle Gary said, I'm Hugh's oldest daughter. And I just want to thank everybody for coming today. I did not expect the reaction that we got when it was posted online that Dad had passed away. I didn't realize, I knew, but I didn't know just how many people that he knew. Everywhere we went when I was a kid, he knew everybody. He went to elementary school with them or high school with them or lived down the street from them, or he knew their cousin. And it was just okay, this is what it is. And I don't know. But I never thought we'd be here today, because I don't know. He just seemed invincible. He To take what the world threw at him, dust himself off, throw some duct tape on it, and keep going. Didn't matter if he needed 48 stitches to do so, or, you know. Yes. Yeah. That's another thing, because now I'm getting thrown off. Like, yeah, that's another thing. He would send me gruesome photos of gashes, wounds, or burns that he got, and it was almost like he needed to commemorate every project that he worked on with some sort of scar. You could probably pick, and he'd tell you exactly where it came from too. And there are many stories, many probably too inappropriate to share here. But I remember some amazing camping trips, impromptu road trips to really weird places. Like I don't know if you guys realize, but there are a lot of like tourist spots in Canada. And Dad has taken us both from the West Coast all the way up to the East Coast, and then like right down south to Disneyland, everywhere. He made sure that we had those experiences that we probably wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And Dad and I were almost inseparable for a very long time. It was just me and him for the most part. I go on jobs with him and he tried to teach me how to do what he did. No. Build a wall, shingle a roof, you know, put up some cabinets, no. And after I moved out on my own, I would still call him like, Dad, how do I do this? And he'd be like, oh, you just put this and this. And then I'm like, no, not listening. Next time he come to visit, guess who was putting in the shut off valve underneath my kitchen sink? Like, it was just, you know, it was, Dad's going to do it. I got way off track here. I'm not even joking. But he did those things for anyone who he thought could use a hand up. And if he knew how to fix something, he would offer to teach you how to do it. And sometimes only for a 6-pack of beer. He didn't care. He'd do it for free, really. And I know that my own landlord has really appreciated that multiple times. It gave him purpose to be able to help others, because that was really one of his greatest traits. Even watching Rob and Dad bond over the techniques and tools was way less painful than I thought it would be. Dad was always open to giving advice, and Rob was happy to take it. See, in the beginning, Rob and Dad didn't get along. I don't know if anybody knew that. Something about me being his little girl and all. But after 18 years, it's a long time, yeah, and almost 6 children. It was amazing to see how well they bonded. Like, it got to the point where, I don't know, they had a conversation about Rob's favorite tool and his brand. He's very specific. Dad was very specific about his own. And Dad would get him one, because you can't just have one. He had 3 or 4 of each tool, which is going to be very fun. But he always made sure he was prepared in every job that he had. He was everywhere, all over the place. He even left clothes everywhere, shoes. I even found some in my basement recently because he stuck it there in a box. Thanks, Dad. He was also an amazing Grandpa Q, as my kids called him when they were little. He shared a birthday with Natalie, which was, yeah. He made sure to visit and call for almost every significant moment in their lives too, despite how far away he lived. And it's gonna suck to not get those like woo phone calls when something big happens, or, you know, high school grad, lots of things. But there are plenty of happy, fun stories that I'm sure that all of us will share with them eventually. Because he was very good at making memories with everyone that he knew. Pretty sure everybody in here has an absolutely different memory than someone else. Like we have shared memories, but like everybody has their own. But like I said before, I never thought in my wildest dreams we would all be here today. I always had this image that he would be around forever. And I guess that's because he was one of the most stubborn people I'd ever met in my entire life. Which wasn't a bad thing. That stubbornness taught me some pretty valuable lessons. Determination, strength, honesty. He was brutally honest. Or could be, anyway. Even if you didn't want him to be. I knew that I could turn to him for absolutely anything and not just get the answer that I wanted, but the advice that I needed to. He was happy to share in the accomplishments of others, greeting with a huge smile and a hug to celebrate even the smallest feats. And it always seemed that he would be there for all of those big moments in life. And I guess he still will be, just in a different form. Oh, it's okay. I literally have one line left. But I'll miss you. Kind of sucks, but yeah. Hello. Because he wouldn't say that. And now you have fun screaming. Sorry.
Okay, Allison, you got that act to follow. You're up next. You ready to rock and roll?
So I'm Kirby. Allison, Kirby, I am Hugh's youngest daughter. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through this right away without crying. Hold on. Even saying that part just makes me sad. For the last 4 months straight, I've been walking just to check on him. It's 45 minutes there, 45 minutes back. Avery enjoyed it. Walking with the stroller, she'd come and visit, but he wouldn't ever be really awake. So I just open up the door, check, see if he was okay, shut the door, and leave. It was kind of my routine with Avery the last little while because being a single mom, I really wanted that support of having a father for her, and I always looked at my dad for that. My dad was my teacher. He was my supporter, my strength. Like April said, he always tried to teach us stuff. I actually got it. I worked with him at MCC for a while, and I learned how to install cabinets. I learned how to do drywall, studs. I learned how to do flooring. I learned how to do all that stuff, and I got it. But I sticked with food. So I transferred back to my food and being in the food industry. So Dad was always very supportive of me working. But when I went back and got my GED, he was really, really happy and very, very, very proud of me then. Because being the fact that I always lived with my mom, I didn't feel the connection that April had. And until I was an adult and we hung out all the time. Yes, we both drank. I quit in December. And I thought that would give him some encouragement, but unfortunately, that didn't happen. But I stuck with it. And I find that I have a more clear mind. And I think knowing all the stuff that he taught me, I can carry that on and teach it to Avery, like the minor traits and like code of conduct kind of thing. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Don't speak unless spoken to kind of thing, or don't interrupt. Don't touch things that don't belong to you. And the one that was really kind of meant for me was children should be seen, not heard. Because obviously, as you could tell, even when my sister was talking, I couldn't help. I have always been the one where my dad was a little bit more strict with me, a little bit more stern. But I realized that I can turn that about and not be strict or stern with my child and teach her the values of being like, not he didn't teach me, I don't know how to explain that, but so he was the one person I would turn to if I was hurting, if I was hurt by somebody, I would turn to Dad and I would say, I'm really upset. And he'd be like, they're not worth your time. They're not worth your breath. Don't worry about people that hurt you. You deal with you. So another little instilled trait I'm going to put and teach my daughter. She was only held by him once, which kind of sucks. She didn't really know him because of her health condition and his health condition and the fact that he smoked in his apartment. I couldn't bring her. So it did kind of suck. He did get to see her sometimes when he was able to walk, but as soon as he started not being able to walk around and get around and do what he was supposed to normally do, and that strength started to dwindle, it was hard for me to talk about him, about my weaknesses at that point, because I wanted to be his strength. And I couldn't because I had to be my daughter's strength. So I felt like I kind of failed him a little bit because it was my responsibility. And I left it up to my sister to watch his appointments. So I do feel a little bit that it's kind of my fault. I don't know. But that's me, because as my family knows me, I am very emotional, vocal, I'm bipolar. And so I tend to like verbally outburst things that shouldn't come out of my mouth. And Dad made it a point to tell me when I was being like that. He was very stern in the way he told you what he wanted you to do. And if you didn't do it right the first time, don't repeat the action and do it wrong the second time. Do it again, the right way. Especially when I was learning with him with doing cabinetry and installing cabinets, installing flooring and all that stuff. There was so many good jokes and camaraderie between the two of us. And we were able to actually like bond more in my adult years, especially after I turned 19, because I was able to like be more travel-y back and forth between Toronto and Richmond Hill. And I would come visit and I would come hang out with him. And we would just sit there and watch war movies together. Lots and lots of war movies. Sometimes he would put it on repeat. It's kind of annoying because then I would wake up in the morning and the same movie would still be on. Like, really? Band Brothers again, Dad? But then again, he also watched other ones too. But it was always a fallback. Now that I watch TV, I go to watch and see a war movie and it's like, I don't really like them. But now that he's gone, I want to watch it. It's kind of like I feel like I'm watching it with him. So as I stand here, I hold him around my neck. He's in this little dolphin. And I will keep him close to my heart and keep him forever here. Because I loved my dad. You know, people love Dad too. But I had a different relationship than April. April had such a huge connection with Dad. Because I lived with Mom, it was a little harder. The divorce, separation, and the custody moving back and forth, it made it a little bit hard for us to bond. That's why when I got the freedom of being an adult and being able to move around, being able to visit him more, it made it a lot easier for us to actually get along better. And I know that he was really proud of me. And I know that he was super proud of April. But I was really touched that he finally like reached out and wanted to be more connected to me. And it's not his fault at all. It's not my fault. It's just everything that happened over the years. We got strained apart. And that's what happens with family. And I don't want that to happen to my daughter. So I want to instill those traditions and those minor traits. And considering I'm actually the only minor left in Richmond Hill, I'm the only minor left in the book right now. So I want to carry on that tradition. That's why I gave my daughter Minor as a last name, because Minor is a strong name, and my dad gave me that strength, and I'm going to pass to my daughter. I don't know. He had so many jokes and so many rude and crude things. And trips to Cuba, trips to Dominican, and the fun he would get up in there. And he was a streaker. He was a skinny dipper, and he was a flasher. He was one of those guys that just didn't give a no. And you know what? John would know, Pete would know. They would go up to Agua Canyon all the time, and they would go camping. And that's the other thing too. Like, I'm a big camper too because of my dad. Bugs didn't bother me then, but it bothered me then, but it doesn't bother me now. And my dad really loved those camping trips, and I want Avery to love that. So I'm going to make sure that he's always with us. And even though he's not here now, we'll always remember every good thing, every bad thing, every word said, and to pass that on to future generations, especially with April having number 6. I find that after 18 years, we were standing in this room 18 years ago in October saying goodbye to Grandpa Minor. And April was pregnant with Brody. And he's taller than me now. It's amazing that we can see so much growth in our family. And even though he's not here, he will still see it. He'll see all of us grow up. So I just want to say hello. And yeah, I'm not saying what I did.
We love you. Next speaker is my sister Ann, and she's the Hugh's older sister, and she's going to come up and say a few words. That'd be you. Get up here. No, I'm directing Trev. Keep going.
And then Christine Roberts.
Christina. Okay.
Should we have fun now? Intermission over. Christine, where are you? Christine, do you want to come up, Christine? No, it's okay. You don't have to. All right. You know, a lot has already been said about Hugh, and I'm often asked to speak at funerals. This is the first of my siblings that I've been asked to speak at. Thank goodness the rest are all here. And I usually write a poem. And I need to tell you that today's poem may not rhyme. So I'll warn you that in advance. Oh, Hugh, how can it be true? We'll have to get along without you. You who could fix just about anything except a broken heart. From the day you were born, the last of the 6, you would not be told just what you could do. You would do it your own way, just as you please, and that made for trouble, which always brought someone on the double. As your big sister, and he does have 2 big sisters, but I'm the one that came first. I was expected to take you wherever I went. Now, a teenage girl with a preschooler in tow attracts a lot of attention, and not always the kind that you would want. Afternoons, we would go to the Centennial Pool, where you made it your business to look up from under the doors at the mostly naked ladies in each change room stall. "Get out of here," the ladies would shriek at a cute little boy just having a peek. There was one afternoon you were lucky to survive, bouncing on the high board in saggy red trunks. A young man was about to take a dive, and you pointed your finger as you shouted out, "Hey, everyone, look, it's Big Dick." And then you ran into the ladies' change room as fast as your little legs would go. And it was a good thing too, because he looked mad enough to strangle you. And then there was that time when you, along with our brother Paul, spotted that nice boy, George Hansey, approaching the door. You saved up your saliva, and from the window above, the two of you spat on his nicely coiffed hair. It's kind of the end of our relationship. When I caught you smoking out behind the back shed, I knew our dad would have your head. So I stepped in to protect you by doling out discipline and discipline. No bicycle for a week. And when our dad asked you why you were running to school, "Oh, I'm training for track," you said, ever so cool. When I left home in '73, you often spent weekends visiting me. My boyfriend at that time was a nice man named Rob. He taught you to play chess, and you got really good. So I said to Rob, "Why are you letting him win all the time?" "I'm not," he said. And Hugh was just 9. So our mother described you as a big feeling little feller. Sounds like a quote maybe from Old Yeller. When you were happy, you danced. You loved with all your heart. You cried when you hurt. And you were more sensitive than the rest of us all put together. You skated like a pro and lived to play hockey. That's until old Grandpa Miner, that's my Grandpa Miner, our Grandpa Miner, showed you how to catch fish. And from that moment on, a loner with friends, in summer and winter, you were a fish jockey. Now we'll skip over the troubles of your teenagerhood. Talking about that period won't do any good. But we'll go right to your most talented years, when you could do magic working with wood. Power tools were your friends most of the time, but when you were tired, they could get out of control. And so many people right here today have sat hours with you in the emergency room until bones could be set, fingers attached, and wounds closed with stitches, sometimes as many as 50. I remember the time when I rushed over to Sunnybrook and they brought you in from the rescue helicopter, unconscious, with a car steering wheel imprinted on your chest. And other times when I was with you all night, just hoping and praying you would be all right. Over the years, you did plenty of work for us in very old houses, took lots of patience and ingenuity. Nothing was straight. Not the walls, not the baseboards, not window or door frames. But you could make it all work, including electric and plumbing. You were a cheerful sort, welcoming everyone with a genuine smile. You put people at ease and soon had them laughing at your various accents and wry sense of humor. You made friends with my neighbors in Woodstock and even had a girl in town. And you know, even this past winter, I met someone who said, "Oh, you must be Hugh Miner's sister." You were your own man, told me you did as you pleased, so very independent and proud. quick to remind us we were the only minors, M-I-N-E-R, in the book, with a satisfying job working with John at MCC, where you were highly valued and had a regular routine you managed for years. Eventually, your addictions took over and you lost control. Over and over, you refused to have help. You lost your purpose and your interest in life. And now you are free. I will remember you fondly, my dear little brother, with your bottomless well of love. You gave the best hugs, one heart to another. And now you have left us and gone on ahead. I hope you find those you have missed, and there are many, and even a few places you may not yet have fished. Until we meet again, please remember, I love you. I asked Hugh's friend, John Samuels, if he would like to have something say something or have something read on his behalf. And he's handed me a document that made me laugh out loud. So for a change of pace, now for something completely different, I'm going to read you John Samuels' Memories of Hugh. So, Hugh was a wild and crazy guy. We had a lot of great times together with friends and family, including Ape. I'm sorry, I've never called her that, but that's what it says right here. And Kirby. I, being John Samuel, specifically remember a time that Hugh left April and Kirby with me at the old farmhouse because he couldn't be there until Saturday morning. We were upstairs playing games of pool on the old table, and someone inadvertently got some of the blue chalk on their face while chalking their cue. Well, one thing led to another, and we ended up covering our entire faces with crazy designs using the little square cue blocks. And I had a bunch of crazy photos of the night, but I can't find them. So I hope they're with Hugh's things. But if not, I have the negatives. I remember dozens of trips to Lake Ridge Ski Resort with Hugh and the kids skiing, but one time comes to mind. We were all skiing down a hill, and the ski patrol had one of the runs blocked off to the general public because they were training new ski patrollers. As we were roaring along, Hugh just suddenly veered off to the left and headed into the roped off area. I was right behind him, so I followed. And April and Adam went on down the hill. When we got right up to the training area, they had these long wooden benches blocking any access to the area. So Hugh, he just roared right up to the boards, lined up his skis, and just jumped the bench like Steve Pavrovsky. He flew through the air right by the startled instructors and students and continued right on his merry way over obstacles, ski jumps, and moguls at a crazy pace. And I just tried to follow him without killing myself. That was when the James Bond type chase ensued as Hugh went down the restricted course like he was on a mission from God. Or maybe he was. Several of them chased us all the way down to the bottom where we ran out of hill and they caught up. We had a stern warning that we were not to be on that hill, and especially not without proper protective gear, including helmets. We met the kids down at the lift and we went straight back up to the top again. Little to my surprise, with the kids just ahead of us, Hugh suddenly veered off again, jumped the benches with a big woohoo, sped by the whole group of trainees and instructors and headed down the steep slope again like a man on a mission. Well, they were a bit faster the second time and they caught up with us before we even got halfway down. But Hugh was having none of that as he dodged in and out around the hills and the trees with at least 4 ski patrol wardens hot on his heels. Once again, we ran out of hill, just about the same time they had apparently run out of patience. And we received a much sterner scolding about our reckless behavior. It may have led to an early day on the slopes, but Hugh was cool as a cucumber as he explained how he was just a bit confused and lost and just trying to find his daughter. Either they bought it or they didn't know what else to do. So after apologies and getting directions, off we went to meet up with April and Adam, again down near the main lodge. That is I, John Samuel, took a different hill next time. Hugh always loved the great outdoors, and most of our adventures were out in the middle of God's country. We spent many a day shooting rockets and explosive automobile airbags up into the sky with reckless abandon. There was a time when Hugh took a bunch of us to a friend's field in Victoria Square, just east of Richmond Hill. We had about a dozen rockets and we sat in the cars in the deep of winter while we loaded the rocket engines aboard and got ready to let them loose. After the first volley, an F-18 fighter jet roared right over us at low level and began to circle the farmer's field. We loaded up some more and we waited for him to return. And amazingly, he did a few minutes later. He gave us the famous wing wobble. I'm not quite sure what that is, but just to say hello. Then he started circling us in about a half-mile arc. As we let the rockets go again up into the sky, he wobbled his wings and did some cool low-level maneuvers while staying well out of our way. We figured he was testing his missile guidance systems and giving us the thrill of a lifetime all at once. We must have shot 6 or more rockets before he finally ran low on fuel and had to return to where we came from. Now that was a day to remember for sure. I still have the dirt from launch pad number 13 at Cape Canaveral, where we crawled under a safety fence and tried to get by one another. I must not have seen the many do not enter signs, and then grabbed a big handful of the scorched black earth from mere meters away from where the astronauts blasted off to the moon in the late 1960s. Well, John says he could go on all day, but we don't have the time, and there's no statute of limitations in Canada. But I think we can all agree that Hugh was a wild and crazy guy as he approached life from his own angle, using his own set of rules, and he was often flying by the seat of his pants. But he'll be sorely missed and fondly remembered. And P.S., I just hope he's sitting on a comfortable stool at the little beer stand outside the pearly gates. It's a place where we go to reflect about the amazing moments we experienced, the beautiful people we met, and all the love we lived. Oh yeah, and the beer's free. Thanks, Hugh.
And I thought we weren't gonna have enough time, so we got 20 minutes left. Does anybody have a remembrance of Hugh that they'd like to come up and share at this time? Going once? Going twice? Kathleen? Sold to the girl in the white and blue dress. And while we're waiting to get up here, the score of the game between Cleveland and Toronto. Okay, this is Hugh's next older sister and my younger sister, Kathleen. There you go.
Thanks, Gary. Okay, the gloves are off.
No, really.
Fasten your seatbelt.
Right? Right?
No, but you are. So I wasn't gonna speak, but here I
Well, thanks
am.
for coming.
And that's why. So we called him Hugh. We called him Huey. We called him our buddy. We called him a weenie. We called him that guy, a great guy. We called him our guy. We called him our best worker. We called him our classmate. We called him Miner 69er. We called him the baby. We called him our neighbor. We called him our customer. We called him our tenant. Yeah, we called him our friend. We called him our crush. And we called him our ex. We called him our boss. We called him our brother. We called him our uncle. We called him our stepfather. We called him our grandfather. We called him our dad. We called him when our parents needed him. We called him when his friends needed him. We called him when our friends needed him. And we called him when we needed him. And he showed up. Right? He showed up. He was that guy. So here we are showing up for him. And I'm really, really glad to see all of you here. Because I know every one of us is going to miss the legend that he was. So, hello.
Kathleen said hello, and hello is from the Beatles song where I say goodbye and I say hello. Just for some reference. Any other siblings? Siblings I don't know about? No, anybody? I gotta point out a couple of things. I mean, look at this photo here of Hugh. What a male model, right? And I just want to point out that I got two brothers that got hair and two brothers, well, me and Mike. But I just want you to look at one, right? Like he's got a full head of hair. He's got eyeglasses hiding in that hair. Like I had to put mine on to see it. And he's got this, somebody call it his GQ look over here. And here he is under our parents' tree at the milk pond reading only MINER in the phone book. And he's in here, in this little Corian box, which he built for my dad's ashes. So my dad has been in there, and my mom has been in there, and we've evicted him, and he's down there. I think back to when my mom passed away, and I phoned her sister and said, "Hey, I've got to I'm giving my mom's eulogy. Got any recommendations?" And she said, "Keep it uplifting and keep it short." Of course, she's an Addie and we're minors, and we have the 50-50 blood in there. So you had a 50-50 chance of having a short eulogy. but no. Some of it is ad-libbed. What I want to say, a lot of it has been said. A terrific, terrific poem that my sister wrote about Hugh. She and nailed it. And his two beautiful daughters, like you nailed it. You know your dad, and you did him proud. You both did. You did him proud. Hugh arrived on January 8th, 1964, here in Richmond Hill at York Central Hospital. We know it as Major Mackenzie Health. He is our youngest brother, the baby. And over the next 57 years, he accomplished a lot of things. As I said, he had two beautiful daughters, April and Kirby. And my heart goes out to both of you. I personally will not be able to replace your dad, but I pledge to be the best uncle possible. I do that. Mom and Dad, you did a great job raising us. And in thinking about what I would personally say, I know I would not be the person I am today without having great parents. I was blessed to be raised by them, and so was Hugh, and so was all my siblings. Having brothers and sisters to lean on for support, especially with the loss of Hugh. I am blessed in other ways as well, and I cherish all of that. Today is about Hugh. This is his day. Hugh had 57 years on this earth, and by some standards, that's a long time. Two of the most stubborn people I know in the world were my dad and Hugh. And they both occupied that box over there, the one I pointed out earlier. I know some other stubborn people. Both of them proud men. They'd give the shirt off their back. Of all my siblings, my dad always stuck up for Hugh no matter what. Dad stuck up for all of us, but personally, I thought he always went to bat for Hugh the most. And in truth, that's because Hugh was the definition of every lesson is repeated until learned. Hugh did it his way. Knowing Hugh the way I knew him, he did things Hugh's way, always the hard way. I have fond childhood memories of this little guy. This little guy was a holy terror. He was the smallest, but the strongest. He was a tough kid. In adolescence, we took two different paths. There wasn't an actual line between the two, but one of my dad's favorite rules were lines or expressions, and he had many, but this is the one I remember. You can do what you want. When the police call, it's too late. I believe that. I believe that. I grew up to appreciate every word of that, and I remember today, I can hear him saying it to me. I believe Hugh only heard the first part. You can do what you want. In adulthood, we had different career paths. Hugh became a cabinet maker and a carpenter, unbelievable talent and construction skills. You've heard about that today. And all the many things that he taught you, Kirby and April, the tools, like you go into his apartment and it wasn't his apartment, it was a storage locker for his tools. But again, Hugh always did it the hard way. I can remember some projects that Hugh took on, and I can remember offering up some advice. And one of his responses, and it was a regular response, maybe just reserved for me, you can tell me what you want done, but you can't tell me how to do it. Don't tell me how to do it. I can hear him saying that. I can hear him saying that now. I have mentioned that Hugh has two beautiful girls and both have children. So Hugh's a grandpa 6 times over and a 7th on the way. And one of one of the last times I spoke to Hugh was to congratulate him on being a grandpa again. In fact, my grandson, Callum, is born on Hugh's birthday. And Hugh's born on Elvis Presley's birthday. And Hugh outlived Elvis Presley. In truth, I was always worried about Hugh. All his siblings were worried about him. We've heard why. I knew he was not looking after his health, and I really just wanted better for him, and I told him so. In fact, Ken and I were get together, and we probably the two that talk the most about the rest of the siblings. And we would go through the inventory, we talked to so-and-so, and we talked about Hugh and how worried we were. And that was earlier this month. And on Sunday, July the 11th, I was looking at my phone. I was going through my email subscriptions, you know, Lowe's, Home Hardware, Canadian Tire, Princess Auto. And the phone rang. Private number. Unknown number. You know, if I stick to the script, I'll get this right. Unknown number. That was about 10:30 in the morning. There's one person who calls me regularly that has that unknown number. And being a Sunday morning, I answered, "Is this my personal favorite?" And this male voice said, "No." "Is this Inspector Minor?" And I said, "I'm retired." He said, "This is so-and-so from the duty office." And pretty sullen guy. I said, "Oh, the duty office, that's my favorite job I ever had. I had that job. Do you need me to come? Are you guys stuck? Do you need me to come in and help you out?" "No, sir. Sir, I'm calling about your brother, Murray." All right. I've had those calls before. Murray, yeah. Murray's going to be going to bail court on, but anyhow, I digress. That went through my head. That came out, it's not here, but and I paid attention. And he said, there's been a medical emergency call to your brother's address, and despite best efforts, unfortunately, he passed away. And I started doing what I always do when you need traffic directed. Hugh, I told you what I wanted. I hope you're looking down and knowing we love you. We will miss you, little guy. Look after mom and dad and rest in peace. That's the sad part. That's the sad part. Then you turn your mind to, next steps. And I'm not very good with Facebook, but April, I was able to draft a very appropriate notice and obituary, and just the amazing outpouring of responses and comments. And you find out who your friends are, and you learn a lot about your own brother just by reading these comments. And some of the pictures on his Facebook page are here. You've done an awesome job as a PowerPoint. And some of the things that I read are by a fellow by the name of Lord Baron Byron. Well, how does Hugh know that guy? He died in 1860. But he's got a picture on his Facebook. "There is a pleasure in the pathless woods. There is a rapture on the lonely shore. There is society where no one intrudes, but the deep sea and the music in its roar. I love man not less, but nature more." He who has that on his Facebook page. So I looked at, what else did that guy write? So he wrote this one as well, a little shorter. "Always laugh when you can. It's cheap medicine." I hope we've had some cheap medicine here today. Another thing on Hugh's Facebook page is do not corner something that is meaner than you. I am who I am. Your approval is not needed. Stupid is as stupid does. And then he has one loyal heart. Hugh values loyalty more than anything else, and anyone who knows you knows that you always be there for them. You ride or die. I got a couple of messages. Well, I got some messages this morning, but one person in his life that was near and very dear to him was a lady by the name of Deb Young. And this morning, my good friend Les Young, who's also my daughter's godfather, sent me a note, and I'll read it. When I think of Hugh, there are many things that come to mind. What stands out for me, though, was his passion. He was passionate about his work, the outdoors, and most definitely about his thoughts and opinions. What he was most passionate about, though, was his friends and family. This came to my attention through his relationship with my sister Debbie. They spent many good times together, and unfortunately, after Debbie was diagnosed with cancer, many hard times together. Although there are ups and downs, Hugh was there for her, caring for her, and just being there for her. I know that after Debbie passed, that Hugh struggled with her loss and was still passionate about her. While April and Kirby and all the family and friends will miss Hugh, I hope that maybe it's possible that he will find Debbie and be there at peace. Les Young. On the way here, Marg Young, Deb and Les's mom, called me, and of course I'm driving, hands-free. And she has her Scottish accent and passed on her condolences and reminisced about how Hugh had gone above and beyond for Debbie, and he did, and he went above and beyond. He did go above and beyond. If you were in need, he went above and beyond. But we like to go above and beyond, but he's with mom and dad now. Okay, we're going to pause for a commercial break. That brings us pretty close to 2 o'clock. I thought that'd be a wrap, eh? We covered it. We're going to miss him. And thank you so much, everybody, for coming and listening and tolerating some of the things you probably didn't know about you before today. And on behalf of all of the miners, those are my closing remarks. Thank you so much. And we can mix and mingle or depart.